Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Lowell Roundtable. We're so happy you've joined us today. We have a very exciting show. We're going to be talking to Bob Brose from the University of Missouri Extension about maintaining your septic and what we need to do to keep that healthy so our lake water out front stays just the same as it has been for many years, good and healthy, good quality water. Secondly, we'll be talking to Caroline Toole. Caroline's going to be talking about the Lowell IL and how grant funds are available now. Matter of fact, we just got the signed paperwork, I think, today, was it, Caroline? For that grant to kick in. So we'll be telling you all about our joint partnership and cost share program for the Lowell IL. We'll also be talking about our septic tank workshop kickoff. We have, again, additional grant money that's going to come out to assist you in pumping out your tanks. So between A&A Septic, that is going to be giving a huge discount. They're great guys to work with. They do very high quality work. And the Lowell IL grant, you could get up to 50% discount off of pumping your tank out. So please stay tuned. You'll learn all about that. And I would like to talk very briefly before we get started about two issues, our kayak meetups we call it. And go to our website. We have every Saturday in the month, one Saturday a month I believe, is that correct? That we're going to be having kayak meetups. I think the next one is May 12th. We had one in April. I think it kind of rained that day a little bit. But we're going to have fun, camaraderie. We'll have kayaks available. So come to the Hahatonka Spring, May 12th. And you don't need to have a kayak. You do need a life jacket. If you wish to bring a lunch, you'll be able to get out there and paddle around and come back and have a sandwich or two with a lot of friends that are going to be with us. And if you wish to go to our website, you can find out about the whole summer schedule. We'll be doing once a month through October. So please go to soslowa.org and click on Loa Paddlers. Barb Fredholm is chairing that for us this year, and we're pretty excited about it. Another date you might want to put on your calendar is July 1st. Three-time Olympian and gold medalist winner Mike Herbert is coming to the lake on that Sunday, July 1st, and he is going to be teaching, giving to us a free paddle clinic. So especially if you're really into it, an avid sportsman in kayaking, he's going to show you the right way. And if you're brand new at it, it'd be great to learn how to do it the right way the first time out. So please mark July 1st on your calendar. And we're going to have Mac Vorse up there in Warsaw is going to bring some kayaks down. We know we're going to have extra people that day. So we'll have plenty of boats for folks to get out and learn the sport. So that's our show today. And I would like to say thank you very quickly to the Household Hazardous Waste event that we just completed April 28th. We had 467 families bring their waste. We had the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers send up 22 youthful 25-year-olds to help us lift all of the heavy TVs and refrigerators and paint cans and other things that were disposed of. And I know that we could not do this event without the community and the effort of all the donations. So between Phil at the Osage Walmart and Brenda at the Camdenton Walmart, by the way, Brenda, that chicken was awesome. Walmart donated lunch and breakfast. We also had A&B rental without the forklift. We couldn't do it. Thank you, A&B. And the folks from Habitat for Humanity, I think, had 3 pickup loads of paint this year that they're taking back to recycle. Bob Hendricks at Allied Waste, as always, buddy, thanks again for those roll-offs. And I think I've covered everyone. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone on my list here. Handy John. Absolutely, thank you very much. Handy John did pitch in those porta potties, so it all made the day very pleasant for everyone. And the weather, we lucked out. We looked like we could have had rain, but it didn't stop our good stewards of the lake. And so thank you, a big thank you to all of you that came with your waste and got rid of it the right way instead of throwing it in our watershed. Thanks again, and stay with us. We'll have Bob Brose up from the University of Missouri to talk about septic tanks.
The Cave Restaurant and Resort lies within a 38-acre tract along the Gasconade River in Richland, Missouri. Experience a one-of-a-kind dining location in our Cave Restaurant, located 40 feet up on a bluff in a cave overlooking the river. Enjoy one of our great menu items featuring beef, pork, chicken, and fish. The Cave Restaurant and Resort is open 7 days a week. Go online to caverestaurantandresort.com or call 573-765-4554.
Well, good day, everybody, and thanks again for joining the LOA Roundtable. My name is Donna Swall. I'm Executive Director with LOA. It's been a pleasure. We're in our 6th year, and lots of good things have been happening to the lake. We've learned an awful lot about the lake, and one thing today that we'd like to talk about will be working with Bob Brose with the Missouri Extension out of Columbia, Missouri, about septic tanks. And it's that time of year, the tourists are coming and folks are cranking up those cottages from being closed all winter. So we need to learn how we should handle that to maintain good water quality that our kids are swimming in out there around our docks. With that, I'd like to introduce Bob Brose.
Thank you, Donna.
Bob, thanks for coming down from Columbia. Did you get caught in the rain?
No, missed it all.
Well, good for you. Bob's been a real important part to LOA from the time we began. He stuck by our side, taught us about watershed management. He is the watershed guru for the state of Missouri, I might add. And he was a very, very good partner to us. Now that we're learning and working really hard to do these things, we don't see quite as much of you, but we miss you. And but we're glad to have you today. Let's talk a little bit about those septic tanks. Folks really may not understand what they have in their yard. What kind of tank they have. Would you want to talk about the different varieties?
There's several different varieties of tank. The first thing you need to think about is what are the components that you would normally have within a septic system, an on-site septic system. You're going to have some form of septic tank itself, which is designed to hold the solids, and then you're going to have something to dispose of the wastewater. In most cases, that's going to be either lateral lines or possibly a lagoon based on the type of soil you have. Down here, you're probably going to have lateral lines. As far as the different systems, there's what they call an aerated system, an anaerobic system. There are several different ways that they can be looked at, but they all have basically those two functions: to control the solids and then to dispose of the wastewater.
Okay. How do these systems function? I mean, is it important to use a rotten or a raw egg in the system occasionally, or something called Rid-X, or just how does that work?
For most systems, the only thing you have to worry about is using it on a continued basis. Anytime that you're looking to put something in there that you think is going to help enhance your septic tank, chances are pretty good it's not really necessary. If you're using the septic tank on a normal basis, the bacteria that you put into the system is going to be enough to keep that thing active and working continuously all the time.
What about garbage disposals, Bob?
Garbage disposals are fine as long as you don't overuse them. Every time you use that garbage disposal, you're putting basically raw waste into that septic tank, and that helps to overload the septic tank. It may cause you to have to pump it more often than necessary. And same with grease. Grease is very hard on septic tanks.
Really? What about paint?
Paint's another one. If you're going to paint something, we highly recommend that you do not wash your paint, your acrylic paints especially, or your latex inside of an area where we go directly into that septic tank. Septic tanks are very fundamentally opposed to having paint put down there.
I'm a culprit of that one. I did learn, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. I had no idea. It just stops the action of your tank when you put that in. It just like kills it. So very important not to do that. I think something that's, as a weekender 30 years ago when I first bought my house, I was told, gee, if you don't ever have to do anything, if it isn't broken, just go ahead and operate it and run it, and you never have to pump it, you just never have to do a thing. Well, I learned that the hard way, that's just not so. And being a weekender, and I think it's very important for the weekend folks to hear this about their tank, different than the fellow that lives here year-round, using it year-round. Tell us about what happens to that tank that sets all winter.
If you have a tank that sets all winter, the chances are pretty good it's going to, if you use the term, become septic. It's going to get to a point where it's not functioning. A lot of the waste inside there is going to crust over. That's when you really need to start looking at how often you really need to have this tank flushed or pumped so that you in turn can make sure it is working the best possible way it can. If it gets crusted over too much, you've got a lot of solids in there because you haven't had it pumped, The water that comes in and the waste that comes in on one side is going to go directly out the other end without that necessary treatment that it needs to help protect the lake water down here.
So you're saying then, if you've let your tank set empty, it might be important to get it pumped out. And they may have to. I've learned that they may have to take and shoot hose of water to break it up, to actually do a thorough cleaning job. That the waste can actually flow right out without being treated. And how does that work? A septic tank. You know, most of us from the city, we just flush the toilet and that's it. We don't have to think about a darn thing. How does the septic tank work? It goes in one area and does it do something before then it goes out to the lateral, or?
When the septic tank, or when something enters the septic tank, the main concept is that solid waste will be held in the septic tank and starts to break down, starts to actually do some basic treatment on it before it in turn gets out. Most septic tanks will have lateral walls in them that will not allow the waste to go straight through. If you're in an older system, you may not have that. That tank may be open from the very front going all the way to the back. So you really need to be aware of what type of tank you have, how old it is, how much waste it actually has in it. In most cases, they say from 3 to 7 years to have your tank pumped based on the number of people using it, the amount of water flow that's going into that tank, and how much you actually use that garbage disposal, and just in turn, how much active use is going into that septic tank over a period of time.
You know, that's a good point. Is there a magic number for how many gallons or what size tank you should have based on bedrooms or people in the house? Or are there new regulations or anything that folks ought to be aware of?
Those regulations as far as size of the septic tank, how often you should pump it, all is part of what the Department of Health and Senior Services with the state of Missouri actually develops. So they'll go through and say, here are the basic rules and regulations you need to follow. Based on the number of bedrooms, they'll say this is how big of tank you're going to need, whether it's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 gallon tank. Same with the number of people. Based on that, they decide what kind of water flow is going to be coming through there, and that helps determine how often you should have your tank pumped.
Well, that's interesting. Is there anything that folks should be aware of? I think one concern I've heard about is if all of a sudden a baby boomer moves in and they decide to add a bedroom or two since they're going to be here full-time now instead of a weekend, or they might want things to be a little bit bigger here and there and not add on to the tank. Is that going to be a problem when they go to sell their home?
Again, that'll depend on how big the tank was to begin with, what they had in place, and even something as simple as adding a hot tub that you didn't have before that's going to put in a lot of excess water. Those kind of things may cause you to have to adjust the size of the tank or how often you in turn get it pumped out.
Okay. What is an average time frame that you would recommend to homeowners, even those weekender folks that leave it shut all winter? How often should they have their tank looked at?
If you were a homeowner and there's only 2 of you in the household, if you've got a 1,500 gallon tank, you can generally go from 5 to 7 years. But if you're down here, even just on the weekends during the warmest part of the season, and there's you, your wife, or your spouse, and then you've got 3 or 4 kids, or you have a lot of other family members coming down, you should look to have that thing pumped every 2 to 3 years, probably maximum. Again, the Department of Health has a schedule of events on how often that should happen, and they base a lot of their information on that particular idea on how many people are going to be using it, how big that tank is, and how often it should be pumped to keep it at the right level of treatment before water starts leaving the system.
Well, Bob, I think you've done a pretty good job and informed us quite well. And I will say that I'm going to ask you to hang around for the next segment. We're going to talk about our kickoff program and our grant money back to the community and assisting with some septic tank pump outs and the workshops that you'll be giving us. So stay with us, everyone. We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much. welcome back. Thanks for sticking with the LOA Roundtable. You're going to find this part of the segment very informative and interesting, and it's going to save you some dollars. Our grant money is ready to come back to the community and assist you in the cost of pumping out a septic tank. The rates are going to be extremely favorable, almost 50% in most cases of what it would cost you to get your tank pumped if you come and learn and earn an additional discount during your septic tank pump out. We'd like to invite you to go to our website at soslowa.org. Go to the septic tank workshop program. You will see 4 workshops. We do have 2 of those workshops are scheduled currently, Laurie, Missouri at the Osage River Bar and Grill, and we have one scheduled for Portachima. And I believe Osage River is going to be May 17th, and Portachima is going to be June 2nd. The chefs are busy cooking great food, and you can go in there and get signed up, and it will be limited seating, so first come, first serve. Don't miss out on not only learning how to maintain your septic, but also let's learn and earn some money and additional discount. I promise you, we will eat first all this wonderful food being prepared by Portachima and by Osage River. Then we'll talk septics after we have had our nice meal. And with that, I'd like to bring Bob back on. Bob's going to be doing the workshops, and Bob, let's talk about a little bit what the people are going to learn.
There's several things we're going to try to really stress, but the big one is going to be just information education about what you need to know as a private citizen that has a septic system. We're going to talk a little bit about the basic maintenance of it. We're going to talk about the components of it. We're going to talk about why down here at the lake there may be some issues with the type of soil you have and why that's important to what the function of that septic tank is. So we're going to cover a wide range of topics like that. Nothing that's really going to be very unique or unusual, but something that should help you as a private citizen know how to basically work with maintaining your septic tank and keeping it functioning for a long time.
That's good. You know, something I think that is so important is for people to understand that our soil, you know, a typical lateral line needs to function properly. It needs, 4 feet or 3 feet or whatever it is. I know we don't have it on a lateral line. And why don't you explain that a little bit and why this maintenance is so important to protect that water quality?
One of the things we looked at when Donna talked about lateral lines, the systems used to almost 100% be put in as a septic tank and then lateral lines to handle the wastewater. The wastewater itself, as it goes into those lateral lines, normally needs somewhere between 18 and 30 inches minimum just to be able to flow through that soil to take out heavier nutrients to help with the release of bacteria and to help kill that. Down here, for those of you who've ever had to try to dig a hole, you recognize you don't have but about 3 to 4 inches at the very most of good topsoil. So because of that, one of the things you need to make sure is that you're not overloading that system, that you are doing what it needs to be done to keep that septic tank functioning at the best possible way while the sewage is still in the tank itself.
Well, I think it is very, very important to realize we have a map that actually shows areas conducive to septic tanks, and if it's red, it's not a good area, and almost our entire shoreline is red here around the lake. So we just want to make sure that we pay attention and keep those tanks healthy, because it also can affect what goes through and hits what's called karst topography, which is just kind of like a ledge of rock. And if we get a lot of moisture and rain, then what goes in that lateral can just hit that flat rock and roll right into the lake underneath the surface of the water, so we may not see it, but it certainly can affect water quality, especially after rain.
That's true, and when Donna mentions the karst topography, the fractured limestone that surrounds the lake itself, and we see this through large parts of Missouri, when that water comes out, if it hasn't had enough time to be treated and there's not enough soil, we're introducing heavy loads of bacteria and nutrients straight into the lake. And that's something that nobody wants to do. It's not good for property values. It's not good for human health. So we do want to go ahead and make sure that you're doing everything you can within reason to keep that from happening.
Mm-hmm. And you know, we've learned just like the septic tank pump out program, where we have this map that shows boats, where that they can remove their waste and keep the lake healthy. It's kind of the first of its kind that we've produced here at the lake. But the folks are really, with education, they're really becoming good stewards of the lake. They realize you just can't chunk it into the lake and out of sight, out of mind, that we are affecting that water quality. And I used to get phone calls from folks that seemed to think that a boat on the way back to the marina had just, pulled their tank right out there in the water. And I just don't get those phone calls anymore. So good going, lake folks. We know that maybe through some education, we're becoming those better stewards. And I think maintaining that septic, when it not only affects, your property value, but it's also affecting the water quality of what we're swimming in around our docks. So, and from the testing that we've done over the last 5 years, last year completing our 5th year, we show overall that the lake is really healthy. We've also shown, and something I've learned personally, if it rains real hard, probably what's coming in from that soil off of the bank and the sediment rolling into the lake and all the stuff that's in that, whether it be from deer or geese or laterals getting filled up or little Fido in the yard, as Caroline says, and we'll be bringing her on here in a minute, it's going to affect that lake quality. So maybe it's best to stay out of the water for a day or two after a hard rain. We have come up with another program called the Loa Lil that Caroline will be talking about, to talk about keeping that soil or keeping that water on the bank in a rain, so we can even keep the lake healthy even in the rain. So it's all up to us. We can do this. We as homeowners around the lake, we can do this. But it's going to take all of us pitching in, not just one or two. So with that, Bob, I'd like to say thank you for coming. And I will mention that we're going to have Portachima will be June 2nd, and again in Laurie, Missouri, it's going to be at Osage River, and that's going to be May 17th. We will also have at Toad Cove, there at Camden on the Lake, the chef's got all kinds of very good food they're going to be cooking up. And then I think we're going to get the Lions Club up there on the North Shore off of W&Y to get us a good septic tank workshop going up there for the Rocky Mount folks. So you can go into our website at soslowa.org and look for the 4 different workshops. 2 of them we have scheduled. Again, May 17th for Laurie at the Osage River Barn Grill, and June 2nd at Portachima in Sunrise Beach. And look at the other 2. If you want to sign up, you can for the Lions on Rocky Mount, and you can sign up at H Toad at Camden on the Lake, and we'll announce those dates probably within the next 30 days or so. So thank you very much for joining us for this segment, and we'll be bringing Caroline Toole on next to talk about that Loa Lil, and more grant money coming your way on the Loa Lil to help you out. Thanks, we'll be right back.
The Cave Restaurant and Resort lies within a 38-acre tract along the Gasconade River in Richland, Missouri. Experience a one-of-a-kind dining location in our Cave Restaurant, located 40 feet up on a bluff in a cave overlooking the river. Enjoy one of our great menu items featuring beef, pork, chicken, and fish. The Cave Restaurant and Resort is open 7 days a week. Go online to caverestaurantandresort.com or call 573-765-4554.
And welcome back to the Loa Roundtable. My partner, dear friend, and project manager for the Loa Lil is joining us for this segment, Caroline Toole. This is our lady that keeps the science going in the right direction for Loa, and together we've come up with ideas that are going to help the Lake of the Ozarks, and what can we do that live here in our watershed to keep our lake water healthy. We know we're healthy now, but we want to take steps as we grow to stay healthy. And Caroline is going to talk about the Loa Lil and how our grant money, again, coming back to the community to help the homeowner to do individual Loa Lils in their yard. Caroline.
Thank you, Donna. A main part of our grant is called the Loa Lils Project, and this is all about our nation's #1 contaminant to waters right now, is stormwater runoff. Can you imagine stormwater runoff, #1 contaminant to waters? And so our Loa Lils Project is all about stormwater runoff and controlling that runoff, trying to keep the runoff on the land and out of the water. And that's what our Loa Lils is all about. And Lils is low impact landscapes. And right now, we have a cost share incentive program going on where we're working with area landscaping companies, especially Paradise USA, and they understand about Lower Lills. They understand about controlling runoff. And so they're working with us, and they're willing to give back to the community 10% of the total bill. Part of our grant money then will kick in another 10% of your total landscaping bill, and you'll be able to get some Lower Lills coming in here. Rain gardens, vegetated buffer strips, vegetated channels, compost socks, all of these measures that individuals can do on their own property, they can do themselves to help control that runoff and help keep our lake water good and healthy. And this is grant money coming back to the community, just like Donna has said. This is our cost share incentive program. You can find out all about it online, SOSLOWA.org. You can sign up online. You can have one of our TVEs, our trained volunteer evaluators, come on out to your yard, help you evaluate the stormwater runoff, help you consult with native perennials. And the native perennials, these beautiful native plants, these wildflowers, beautiful tufted grasses and sedges that are going to help us control runoff, well, we're getting them at wholesale prices. And that's another part of our cost share incentive program. We'll be getting these beautiful native perennials just about at half price, half the retail price, because we are partnering with a wholesale company here, Prairie Hill Farm, out from Ozarks. And so we have wonderful things going on. Go online, check it out. This is our Lower Lills program, all about keeping our lake good and healthy, because it's healthy now, and we're going to keep it that way.
And you know, Caroline, a huge thank you goes to our Master Gardeners and Master Naturalists.
Well, that is for sure. They are so knowledgeable, so full of expertise and skills, and they are our TVEs. They're the core of our program, and they are willing to come on out and talk with people, share their knowledge, all about native plants, all about runoff control. That's right, those Master Gardeners and Missouri Master Naturalists, we just love them.
Oh, we absolutely do. And one of our very favorites of all is our chairman, Kathy Fayant, which we could not have done this without her. So Kathy, I want to say a big, huge thank you to you and all that you've done to promote this program. And I will tell you, we've really become pretty famous here in the central part of Missouri for all of the watersheds in the state of Missouri because of the approach of this program, being able to manage stormwater even during the construction process. We've been able to figure out how we can make projects green and even be eligible for more funding.
That's right. We talked about septic tanks earlier, and getting septics off the lake is another prong of our LOA program, and this is all part of it.
Right.
Learning all about, and as those sewers go in up in Rocky Mount, we're going to be putting our Lower Lills down. And this is very exciting.
Well, 220 homes so far, and it's maybe even growing to more homes that will be taken offline.
How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know that the soil test is really the first place to start, and we'll come out and we'll do all of that digging and work. If we show up with a pick, it's because you don't need
hard soils. That's right.
We do have, but there is a $13 charge that is directly paid to Missouri Extension. If I'm not.
They're the ones who conduct the test, and so we just take your check and hand it right to them.
Right, and then we come back and give you a report.
Help you interpret that soil test report. Help you figure out, do you even need fertilizer? And if so, what kind of fertilizer and how much?
Exactly.
We're going to control those nutrients entering that lake. It's very important.
That's huge, and huge to keep our lake healthy.
That's
you know,
right.
it is healthy.
We
If we all pitch in and we all pay attention, and we learn. You know, life isn't what my grandmother's life was. I mean, I don't have to go out and milk a cow or gather the eggs.
Times have changed.
Times have changed, and we need to change and grow with it. And we can populate around our shoreline if we are good stewards and learn.
We can grow smart. There's nothing wrong with development. We just have to develop in a smart way.
Right. And let other lakes that have not paid attention be our lesson, and, you know, take the right steps now while we are healthy, and we are, to stay that way. And it not only protects the health of the lake, which is such a treasure. We're so lucky to be living here in, I call it paradise. But, you know, we're looking at property values and businesses, you know, keeping the economy healthy. So, you know, it's good for all of us in all aspects. Whether we live on the shoreline or not, we all need to do our part to make sure that lake stays healthy.
Each of us doing a little part can all add up to a big.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you.
And as usual, my partner, we both say thank you for joining us at the LOA Roundtable. We'll have maybe a very good surprise at the next roundtable, and a very, very good, important visitor to join us next month. Thank you.